You know what time it is? It's time for the Shaw's Law interview series. You know who I am and what I do. Rob Shaw, aka the Pod God, aka Harry Potter. And today I'm joined by a super special guest, 845's own Harold Rayford, the coach of Tennessee Prep Academy. Harold, go ahead, introduce yourself, and then I'll wax poetic for a second.
Come on, Rob. Hey, Rob, thanks for having me on the show. Big time to always give back. You know, I'm always about giving back. I'm not a big person, tooting my own horn, but, I love where I come from. I love the grassroots level, but also, I'm in love with the place where I'm at now, which is Tennessee Prep. This is one of my brainchilds ever since I was young. I always wanted to own my own school, put together, curriculum development and the whole 9 yards. So outside of me just being a basketball coach here at Tennessee Prep, I'm actually the president of the school. So managing, staff, managing, transportation, finance, you name it. I have a lot of responsibility here. So
rumor has it that not only are you the president, you're a founder or the founder.
I am the founder.
Do you know how big that is? Like, first of all, the reason I wanted to have you on is because you made it in sports without necessarily, like, you made a career out of basketball without necessarily putting the ball in the basket.
Correct.
Like, you coach, you've helped change what at this point probably hundreds of young Black men's lives through basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have athletes that have made it, that play professionally, like from our area, but to get a job within sports without playing the sport, like carving your own route, is so dope to me, because one, that's sort of what I hope to do in my own way.
Right.
But like the people you've helped, you've brought along, and you've coached at so many different levels. Can you give the people a history of where your coaching started? What motivated you to want to become a coach?
Well, I won't be who I am without the help of others. I wanted to be a coach because my role model was my father. Being from Newburgh with the Newburgh Zion Lions, I've always been around basketball since birth. Watching my father play at NFA. He was a young dad, and having watching basketball for so long, it was just like, man, this is something I know I could do. And I'll just learn from him when he started his organization right out of the Amy Zion Church in Newburgh with, Reverend Jones. So there's with the help of others pouring into me, that's how I got to this place. So I was always inspired by my father. I was always inspired by my uncles. Those guys helped me shape to be the man that I am today.
So when I met you, you were coaching at Ulster Community College.
Oh yeah.
You had the most athletic JUCO team I've ever seen. Like, right. Those guys were fast. They were on the rims. You had Chris Austin at point guard.
Right.
Kyle Benjamin,
Demetrius Pauling, Remy McNaught, Gene Marcial, Andre Diggs, Aaron Johnson from Newburgh.
My boy Golden played for you, Golden Thomas.
He's an amazing athlete.
So when I knew I was interviewing you, I reached out to Chris Austin because we speak a little bit, and I just wanted to, I was like, Chris, can you just give me some words on Coach H? And that guy has nothing but love for you. I'm going to read what he wrote back. It was like, once I brought you up, he was like, yeah, of course.
Really?
He made competing against each other fun, even though Ulster was a community college and it's usually every man for themselves. Coach Rayford helped us realize that together we could get to the places we wanted to go. So my time with Rayford was probably one of the best years because he allowed me to play basketball. Even though I made mistakes on the court, he allowed me to learn from it and always tried his best to put us in the best positions to be successful on and off the court. He's an even better person than he is coach. Everything he's receiving now, he definitely deserves.
Wow.
And I read that not to just let you know what you did, but I wanted people to know the impact you're having on kids.
Right.
Like, this is a young man from the Bronx. You had him come up to upstate New York, Stone Ridge, and gave him an experience that led him to playing Division II basketball.
Right.
And I'm sure you could tell 95 more stories like that. So I just
Correct.
wanted the people to get to see the impact you're making on these people's lives. Like, you're changing lives.
Right. It's really the energy, man. You know, you start believing in these kids, they take that energy and they run with it. Because I always want my guys, whoever play with me, to have that same enthusiasm and that burning passion to achieve their goals. So a lot of times, you know, when you go to practice, you know, it's a formality, it's not as fun. But I try to make this as much competitive and fun, where we still, you know, maximizing the time that we do have in the gym. So a guy like Chris Austin, every bit of 5'9", heart of, you know, heart of gold, but his work ethic was phenomenal. First team All Region 15, you know, first team All Conference, first team All State in New York, and that was the same year I was battling against Cle Anthony Early. He was on the first team All State with Cle Anthony Early that year, and watching Chris Austin just grow up to being the man that he is now, and I'm just looking back as you're saying those words, like, man, yeah, actually did help this young man achieve, you know, the goal of playing scholarship basketball at Ulster.
I'm telling you, like, the moment I reached out to him and he found out what it was about,
Mm-hmm.
I just got dots for like 5 minutes. And I was like, is he going to say anything? And then boom, just a paragraph. Like, and then he sends another one and he's like, yo, I don't know how much you need, but I could go on. Like,
Wow.
so what's your coaching style like? He mentioned that you made it competitive. And I thought the point he brought up about junior college is almost like the college version of the G League. Everybody's playing for the next level. And he said you made it competitive, but showed them that, hey, we can win together and still accomplish our goals. So what's your coaching style?
I bring a lot of energy. You know, since Ulster, I've learned a whole lot more about basketball. You know, Ulster was fun, but now where I am in my career now, the teaching aspect is enhanced like phenomenal, from the X's and O's to off the court, on the court. But my style is fast paced, energetic. You know, I love the defensive end. You know, I love, you know, coaches like Coach Anthony Evans, who was at Ulster 10 years before I got there as the head coach, who brought me on to Norfolk State. You know, great defensive minded coach. Tom Thibodeau, like those guys really know the defensive end. And when you look at, you know, another local legend who coaches at the NBA level, Bill Bano, those guys know basketball. So, you know, for me, where I am now is like, it's very detail oriented, but I still keep that enthusiasm and that fire to have my guys learn. So it's a fast pace. We run maybe like 50 to 60 sets during the season. We have a lot of plays. And even when I look back at my playing career, when I did play at Ulster, I owe a lot to Corey Chambers, you know, who I, you know, took his place once he, you know, he was not renewed back. But I learned a lot from Corey Chambers. He's one of the bright minds in Ulster County. Like, Corey Chambers knows the game of basketball.
You are preaching to the choir. I played for Coach Chambers. My younger brother played for Coach Chambers. That Coach Chambers is good in my book over here too.
Right, but see, you know, it's about getting talent too. And the year when I played, just going back, and I know you know, I'm jumping off, but that has a lot to do with where I am today too. When I look back, when I played with, you know, Jesse Kenny, Emilio Sparks, Big Noel, Pat Hooks, Greg Fleetwood, Dillion Johnson, like those are my dudes. Like we had fun traveling together. We had fun just doing it together. And I'm just like, man, players, even the guys I played with. But just going back to when Corey Chambers was teaching me the game, I thought I knew the game, but he really showed me now where I am now. I'm like, man, I got to give Coach Chambers a shout out.
Funny you brought up Sparks. That's my guy. Mm-hmm. So I hit him up. Yo, what was it like to play with H? He was like, he was super vocal and a hell of a defender.
Right.
And the vocal stands out to, well, you said, hey, I'm a defensive coach. You're defensive first. And then all coaches want a vocal player on the court. So I'm sure that's just carried over. If you were vocal as a player, I'm sure that that's something you preach to your guys.
Right, right. I mean, I do. Even when I look back at this one particular game, and I'm going to highlight it. We played Sullivan Community College at Ulster. We beat them when they were the #1 team in the country. All I remember is Jesse doing his thing, Emilio doing his thing, and I made it my business to lock down their best defender. And that was the year we upset Sullivan that year. And I'm just like, man, incredible talented guys like Emilio, man, and Jesse, and all the guys I just mentioned. Like, those guys can hoop, they can play, but I think is getting that talent in was the most important piece. And that year we had a bunch of talent that year I played.
All right. So moving on from your Ulster days, you graduated Ulster. You went to a Division II school down in Virginia, if I'm correct.
Right.
You played there, and then did you jump right into coaching, or were you already were you like doing the Zion Lions during the summers?
So just going back, I was coaching the Zion Lions when I was 17. I had 11 and under team at the time, and I actually won the city championship down in Long Island, New York City. I had a really talented team with Antonio Harper, Brandon Clark. You know, I had a really good talented team. Did that for a while, but I went to Virginia State before I came to Ulster. I was already Division II before I came.
Okay.
So I was just trying to find myself when I left Virginia State the first time. So when I left Virginia State, you know, I looked at Orange, I enrolled for the summertime, really didn't feel like that was the place, just because being close to home, I had a lot of distractions. Ulster's far enough where I don't get distracted. So being that I went to Ulster, I was able to focus, learn how to become a man, learn how to be independent. And after my 2 years there, I went back to Virginia State, and I closed that chapter in my life where, you know, I wanted to make sure I had my degree. And I took that opportunity at Virginia State so serious. Like, every day I was sitting in front of the class, I had a briefcase, I had my shirt and ties. Every single day was not a day off. And that was the moment where I knew that's what I wanted. But prior to me going back to Virginia State, I had an internship with the New York Knicks. So I interned with the Knicks, and I also interned with Bill Bano, who at the time was working with the Portland Trailblazers. So I was interning, getting that experience. And I was like, you know what? I was a JV assistant at Newburgh Free Academy. I was the associate head coach with the Hudson Valley Hawks. That was probably one of the best teams I ever coached at that time. But it was just like, at that point, I was like, man, I got to take this to another level, because I have so much information that I want to teach. So that's when I went back to Virginia State. In my last semester at Virginia State, that's when I realized Corey Chambers was not going to be rehired, and I applied for the job. And that's when the athletic director at the time, Deb Sofaro, I interviewed. I drove 7 hours from Virginia during the semester up to Stone Ridge, because that's how bad I wanted the job. Interviewed that day, and I had class that next day at 2:00. So I talked to my professors. They got it, you know, everything ironed out. So at that moment, that's when I realized things started getting real when I became a head coach. And that in 2019, no, not 2019, 2009, that's when I became the head coach at Ulster.
All right, so you coached at Ulster. There's a North Carolina stop in here, Concord Prep?
Correct.
I did my homework.
Okay, yeah, you did. So after my 3 years at Ulster, you know, I had, again, that Ulster 3 years, I've grown up as a professional, because I was working with so many professionals on campus. You know, Jane Kithcart, Teresa Howard, those, you know, are my girls at Ulster. They helped me when I was, you know, the head coach. They helped guys stay eligible. But then after my 3-year tenure, you know, I was at the time developing a strong bond with Coach Evans, and he brought me on staff down at Norfolk State. Right that same year before I got on staff, that's when Norfolk State was a 15 seed that upset number 2 seed Missouri. So I'm like, I'm not being renewed at Ulster. Here go Coach Evans, calls me up. I got a spot for you. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Division I from Division III junior college?
That's a big jump.
It's a huge jump. But I know me, you give me an opportunity, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna be loyal, and I'm just gonna put my hand to the plow and just keep it going.
Can
And
you dig into what your role was as an assistant at Norfolk State?
my role was really support the students. I was in the gym, player development with, the guys. I mean, I checked classes, academics, wanted to make sure our APR score was on point. But my main role was to make sure whatever Coach Evans needed for me to do, I just did it.
Okay.
So well-rounded, assistant, opposed to being a recruiter or being, just skill development or, academics. He just said, treat my program as if it's yours. And I took that approach with the understanding this is his program. So let me do the best I can do. And that year was crazy is I won my first college championship, winning the MEAC regular season championship, going 16-0. And that was the first time in school history going 16-0 in conference. And that year we were one of three schools. It was Memphis, Gonzaga, and Norfolk State undefeated in conference.
That's a fire experience. And then, so you guys went to the NCAA tournament?
Now we got knocked out in the MEAC tournament. I actually had a chance to coach in the NIT.
Okay.
We played against Virginia. So when you look at the young man that's playing with the Brooklyn Nets from Virginia, the shooter,
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris, I coached against him. We knew he was a pro. He was shooting the lights out. But we had a really talented team with, Rob Johnson, Pendarvis Williams. We had a really good team that year.
All right. So I have some Tennessee prep specific questions.
Okay.
Are you guys allowed? Well, can you explain what prep school is for those that don't know?
So a lot, and I'm glad you asked that question. So a lot of folks, when they look at prep school, it's always like the gray area. So for Tennessee prep, we have two programs in our academy. We have grades 9 through 12, and we have postgrad. I wish postgrad, I knew more about postgrad when I finished high school at Newburgh. It would have gave me a year to grow. But for us here at Tennessee Prep, we have 9 through 12, a high school, program. We just rolled out the homeschool umbrella, so I'm catering to homeschool students as well. That's a whole nother experience because there's a huge population here in Memphis that's homeschool. And I'm like, as an entrepreneur, I got to be able to help that area too with students that need curriculum development or, different ways to learn. So we just rolled out that. But also, we have a postgrad program, and that's where the NCAA and NAIA or even junior college, you get 1 year after you graduate to focus on your SAT scores, your ACT scores, recruitment profile, but also your athletic clock doesn't start and your academic clock doesn't start. So with this year, for me, I focus on three key areas: the mental, the emotional, and the physical. Not every kid, once they finish high school, is ready for college. We're talking about when I went to college, I was 17 years of age. When I go to Virginia State, I'm 17, and they got guys 24 years of age on the court. That's a huge difference. When you're talking about 17 to 24, just a year difference of me learning the game and learning the physicality of the game, I probably would have been more, ready, college ready, than your average freshman going in. So with Tennessee Prep, we have two academies: our postgrad academy and our high school academy. Very detailed at Tennessee Prep. Our high school program is a part of the grind session. A lot of folks are still learning more about the grind session, but it's the hottest basketball league in the country. When you look at guys from, or teams like Prolific Prep, we once had Hillcrest Prep, we have OSL, St. Louis Christian, West Oaks Academy. We have arguably, the best 36 prep school teams in the country in our league.
All right. From an academic standpoint, is your school, is Tennessee Prep attached to a local high school or community college for the postgrad, or are you guys a physical school in a sense?
So we are a physical school.
Okay.
So So we're not attached to any community college. We do teach we are a Christian school, grades 9 through 12. We are currently at Lemon Breaker Church, 6720 East Range Road. Pastor Donald Walker is the pastor of Tennessee Prep. He's a 32-year-old pastor, awesome, energetic. What I love about pastor is he's also a boxer. So outside of, the athletic stuff that we bring to the table, he's bringing the spiritual side of it where, that's a huge component when you're dealing with young athletes, adding the spiritual side to it.
Are you guys allowed to recruit?
Oh, yeah. I recruit all over the country.
All right. What's your recruiting pitch? Like your elevator recruiting pitch? You got a kid and they might not qualify academically, and you think that they could make an impact at Tennessee Prep. Give me the pitch.
It's kind of hard. It really depends. It's like let me get to know the kid and the kid's goals before I pitch what I can do here at Tennessee Prep.
That's probably the best answer you could give. That answer is compassionate, and I care about people. I'm not bringing in kids just to, this isn't a basketball factory. This is a family.
Correct.
Your answer is, that's the chef's kiss. That's an A1 answer. I need, you didn't give me enough information about the kid because I need to know the kid. I need to know the kid's goals.
Right. No, I mean, that's why, I don't know how much more research you've done, but we won 2 national titles since I've been here at Tennessee Prep, since I started the school. So in 2015, 2016, we won the NACA national championship. And that team, I had 7 Division I players on that team my first year. And the next championship, 2017, 2018, we won the USA national championship down in Myrtle Beach. In that championship, I had the biggest team in the country that year. I had a 7'3" center. I had a 6'10" power forward, 6'7" wing, 6'8" wing, 6'8" point guard. That team was awesome. And that team had 7 Division I players. So in order for me to reach that level, I had to learn my athlete before, we could put this championship mold together. So it's really just figuring out what makes them tick, what makes, how can I get these guys to trust me, because they're giving up a lot to come to Tennessee Prep. The guys are giving up staying at home with their families. They're giving up, not having a prom because we don't have prom here. These guys are coming here to really train academically and athletically. So these guys are like, they're coming here. I'm looking at guys that want a chance to play against the best. Like I know for me, if I get a number 1 kid in the country, it'll be rare. So I got to develop that type of kid. So,
is it an all-boys school?
We had girls 2 out of the last 6 years.
Okay.
Right now we are on boys only, and we're looking to at some point bring it back. Especially when COVID kind of dies down or is completely out the way, we're more than likely bring the girls back.
And how did COVID affect your season?
It didn't affect our season at all.
You guys just kept it pushing?
Our league, again, going back to the grind session, and this is why I have a lot of respect for the NBA players that played in the bubble. The grind session, we had a bubble too. And we played in the bubble in Kentucky, and we played in another bubble in Phoenix. So we played a full season. But the lack of discipline, not the lack of, but you need a lot of discipline when you're playing in these bubbles. Like, it's very hard to be focused for a long time in these bubbles, from practices, film study, games, to do that every single day and not be around your family. I was away from my wife and kids for a month at a time. So my hat is off to the LA Lakers, not because I'm a Laker fan, but looking at the discipline that those guys had. And I've gained a lot of more respect for LeBron and his leadership because of these bubbles. Because
you were LeBron, you were the leader of men or young men.
Right. Like, just real quick, I know we've been talking basketball, but as a leader, when you have a J.R. Smith, a Dion Waiters, a Dwight Howard, and you telling these guys, just put it to the side, because they could have been going to the strip club, they could have been going, outside the bubble, going against COVID calls, But those guys follow his leadership. I remember vaguely being on ESPN where it says LeBron calls player only meeting. I'm like, I just kept that as a mental note. And I'm like, dude, that's leadership. When you can have guys focus for that amount of time, I'm gonna help you get this check. Just lock in to help me win a championship here. And those guys locked in.
All right. So, who are some Tennessee Prep alumni we should be looking out for on the college scene for this upcoming season?
Oh, for sure. Damian Ball. Damian is he just transferred from University of Memphis. He's transferred to TCU to play for Coach Dixon down there. I got my fingers crossed. I know for a fact Damian's going to be a pro. I know for a fact he's going to be an NBA pro. It's just a matter of being in the right position at this season. If he can do what he did here and also what he did for James Wiseman and Precious, I can see Damian making that push. Because when he played for me, we played Prolific Prep. We upset Prolific, and Damian had a triple-double. And Prolific was Namari Barnett. They had like 2 All-Americans. Damian had a triple-double, and we beat them. When you look at the game where we played LaMelo Ball down in Atlanta, Damian had a triple-double against LaMelo Ball, and we find out LaMelo Ball is the Rookie of the Year. Like, Damian was a really good player here. I have another kid from New York City that I'm really, looking forward to seeing how his career shapes out. Tyrese Patterson, he's at Texas A&M Kingsville, which is the Division II school. Damian and Tyrese, both jerseys are retired here at Tennessee Prep because they won the national championship here. But those 2 guys for sure. I have a 6'9" kid, Chris Ward. He's at Xavier University, which is an NAIA down in New Orleans. I'm looking forward to seeing his career. He'll have 3 years left. Just graduated from Shawnee Community College. I have a 6'8" kid, Moses Brown. No, not Moses Najuk, excuse me. He's at Brown University, Ivy League school. So Moses left Tennessee Prep, and now he's at Brown University. I'm looking forward to seeing his career. There's a lot of guys, man.
Have you had any local kids down there?
Oh, yeah. I had a 6'8" point guard the year we won the championship, Antavion Cullum. Antavion, they call him Dude. Every bit of 6'8". I had him at the point. He was like a point forward. Our starting lineup that year was crazy. 6'8" point, 6'7" two guard, 6'8" wing, 6'10" power forward, and 7'3" at the center. But Antavion was at Ole Miss.
That's an NBA team you had.
Oh, no, it was crazy. It was a really good team. Really good team. But Antavion, he's another one. He's at Cal State Bakersfield. He just transferred from Ole Miss. There's just so many guys, man. And I apologize to the guys if I'm drawing a blank, but there's a lot. Oh, I just had Catrell Blocker. Catrell just signed with University of Buffalo. And he was my first McDonald All-American nominee. And Catrell came to Tennessee Prep for 2 years. So that's one kid that I want everybody to look at is Catrell Blocker from Rochester, New York.
He came as a senior and then did a post-grad year, or
No, he transferred in as a junior.
As a junior and played 2 years for you. Oh, man.
Yeah. Normally when I get guys that come in my program for 2 years, those guys pretty much haven't made. Like they're being recruited right from their junior year going into their senior year. So I remember just, Catrell's junior year, he picked up like 6 offers from Siena, Canisius, all the schools in his region offered him. But Buffalo made a lot of sense because for the last 5 years, they've been to the dance.
All right. And then this is one of the coolest things. Like, I think you live a pretty cool life in general. Mm-hmm. You got to talk to me about the Iverson Classic.
Oh, man.
You got to tell me about the Iverson Classic.
Man, that was a dope experience. Like, Steven Jackson, met Bonzi Wells, Darius Miles, like, scooped up Sardin. He was at Syracuse. He was down there. It was just, man, it was amazing to see all of Rasheed Wallace. It was big time. It was big time. And for me to coach the 24K team, that was like the regional team. I coached that team, and shout out to the director Bob. He selected me to be one of the coaches, and they could have selected any other coach in Memphis that's been coaching for decades. Selected me. I just took it as a blessing, man. Not taking it for granted, just looking at all the legendary coaches here in Memphis, but to be selected to coach these young men. One kid I coach, he's going to Georgia Tech. The other young man, the point guard on my team, he was going to Miami. Like, that event was off the chain.
Yeah, that looked like a blast.
And then we
The
had
Rock sponsored it, so The Rock is another local thing. So I'm like, I'm looking through the picture. I'm like, is that Harold? And then then I'm like, yo, that is Rayford. And then it's in Tennessee. And then so I saw you in a picture. And then then I do my homework. I'm like, oh, he's coaching in this.
Oh yeah. It was kind of hard for me to even get it together because we had practice. It was a lot going on, so I really couldn't get caught up into the media or social media. It was just let's go to work. Let me help these kids, and had a great time coaching on the sideline. We had a really good time.
All right, 2 more questions, and then I'll let you get out of here. I know your time is valuable. What are your plans for Tennessee Prep within the next 5 years?
Whoa. Normally, I just take it 1 year at a time. Next 5 years, I want to produce an NBA G League player. I also want to, educate as many student athletes trying to, make it to the next level. Don't have my goal is always revolving as the times change, because just like basketball is evolving, my school is going to evolve as the academic game too changes. There's a lot of, litigation happening with academics, especially with COVID-19. And there's just a lot of different things that, I'm doing research studies, but continue to be on this national platform. That's just my goal, is to continue to do what I've been doing.
And for you personal, do you have any personal goals that you're trying to achieve that we should be on the lookout for?
I just want to be the best husband, the best father. I have a beautiful family. My wife, Kristen, my daughter, Olivia, my son, Harold, the third. And now my wife is expecting our third. So just really just want to be the best father, best husband I could be. Everything else will fall into place, because I know at the end of the day, knowing that I'm a man of God and a man of faith, that everything's going to fall into play.
Is Harold the third, you guys call him Trey, or he's just little H?
Well, eventually he's going to grow into Trey. But right now it's, my wife calls him by his middle name, Owen. But, he's the third. He's a legacy sake. He's a legacy sake. So he has a lot carrying on his shoulders that he don't know about yet.
So guys, this is Harold Rayford of Tennessee Prep, Newburgh legend, 845's own. I'm just so happy you pulled up to chat with us. Is there anything you want to pitch? The national schedule, anything exciting coming up this year before we let you go?
Yeah, so this year is really, really big for us. Still dealing with, COVID. I still had an opportunity to go out and recruit. So what I believe is this team that I'm bringing in this year, these group of guys, even, I lost a lot of staff members this year due to COVID, not, physically losing them, but losing them to, putting them on freeze.
Quarantine and such.
Yeah, it's been very tough. But this year I had a chance to go back to New York City to recruit. I was at the Gaucho gym. I was back in Newburgh. I had a chance to really, pound the pavement recruiting. But this team right here should be exciting to watch. I look to have, 2 7-footers this year. I haven't, pushed out our roster. I got a bunch of kids from the East Coast transferring. I got a bunch of kids from the local area transferring in. But I think this team right here is going to be probably one of the best teams I've had in a while. And I've had some pretty good teams.
I mean, it's only 2 natty chips, 2 chips. 2 chips in what? Is this year 7? Are you going into year 7?
Oh, man. Am I? I think so. 7 years. So the one thing I got to, I definitely want to go back on is my experience at Concord. And I know you touched on it real quick.
Oh, go right ahead.
I did want to give a quick shout out to my guy, George Davis down in Charlotte. He showed me a lot about the ropes down in Charlotte. But at that time, that's when I became an apprentice. I learned how to build a school because I sat quiet and learned how to be a student. Again, where at that particular time down in Charlotte, when we opened up our first campaign, where I had a chance to bring on guys like Donovan Fields, who was a Newburgh legend in my eyes, Jaquan Jones, Slinky,
Cal Poly
legend.
Cal Poly led the nation in free throw percentage.
He did. He led the nation in free throw percentage. First player in school history to have 1,000 points, 300 assists, 100 steals in 3 years. So, his family, the Fields family trusted him. That was like my first big catch. When I left, I opened up the school down in Concord. Donovan was my first big catch. And I knew if I could get Donovan, I had Jaquan Slinky Jones, who went to Quinnipiac.
Yeah, big athletic kid.
He had the scare where he broke his leg when the bone.
The same thing that the kid from Louisville did, correct. Or like very similar.
Correct. So he came down. Scooter came down. I had a bunch of kids from the Newburgh area come down, and they brought us to the Final Four in the prep school post-grad championships.
Oh, that's when I was trying to send you Socrates' Darnell Edge.
Oh yeah, I wish I would have had my hands on that guy.
He wound up at Fairleigh Dickinson. He also led the nation in free throw percentage.
Oh yeah, he had a really good career, man.
He's playing overseas now. He's doing good. He wound up getting his scholarship out of high school, but it was a struggle for him. And I was like, yo, I'm telling you, you could go down there with Harold.
If he would have came down, see the thing what it is, and this is something that I want to definitely highlight. When kids from different states come down to Memphis or even North Carolina, the first thing college coaches say is if that kid can do it in that place, he's not going to be homesick. He's not going to be trying to go back home. If they can do it in the South or even further away from home, I should go out here and recruit him. And where I'm located right now in Memphis, within a 3-hour radius, I'm hitting all SEC, AAC schools. When you look at, Vanderbilt being 2.5, 3 hours away, Sunbelt schools like Little Rock, Arkansas. We have Memphis right here, coached by Penny Hardaway. You come down here, you're looking at where I'm located. Ole Miss is like 45 minutes away. You're looking at, St. Louis being 4 hours away. Atlanta's 5 hours away. New Orleans is 5 hours away. Dallas is 6 hours away. So I'm in a location where guys can get recruited heavily. And Memphis is known for having big time basketball players coming out. So Tennessee Prep would have been an ideal place. I mean, I had Isaiah Boissard come from, Valley Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job coming down. I even had Zach Foley from Goshen. Zach Foley came down here. Now he's at a Division II school back up north. But, you leave those, you leave home, stay focused. Those college coaches recognize when those kids leave far to come to prep school. And Darnell Edge would have been a really
would have been a nice addition to the team.
Would have been a really nice addition. So if there's any other guys in the New York area, upstate, downstate, New York City, even further west, West New York, whoever's listening, reach out. I love to recruit you. I'm big on watching film. I watch film every night. We're always getting better. We could talk basketball. We could talk politics. We could talk education. I just want to be able to help people reach the next stages in life. So if you tuned in to the pod, reach out.
Harold, thank you for your time. I know time is money, and I know you're out there changing lives. So I appreciate you sitting down and chopping it up with me. This has been the Shaw's Law Podcast. And like that, we out.